Welcome to Front Porch Conversations, Franklin Tomorrow's new podcast. This is our third episode, and we're going to come to you and talk today about the McLemore House, which is part of the African American Heritage Society. The building itself is under reconstruction, so we're going to go and meet with Alma McLemore and Marianne Schroer, two board members and directors for the organization. But we'd love to learn more about the African American story on this Front Porch Conversation. Welcome to our third episode of Front Porch Conversations, and we're here this morning. It's April Fool's Day, and unfortunately it's too cold to be outside. I think that's the joke, but we're here with Alma McLemore and Marianne Schroer, two longtime residents of Franklin and who are very involved in everything and anything. But today we're going to talk about the African American Heritage Society and preservation of a family's story and the African American culture in Franklin and Williamson County. So Alma, you win the prize, I think, for having lived here all your life, right?
Yes, I'm a Franklin native, born and raised here, and not going anywhere else.
Marianne, how long have you lived here?
I've been here since 1982, and
Wow.
that's been a long time. Though I hear from people who are natives that not quite the same, but I'm not going anywhere either.
Amen.
I got here as soon as I could, and that was 1983. So I feel pretty good about that.
Amen.
Alma, as a native, as someone who grew up here, how do you think Franklin has changed in your lifetime, and is it for the better?
Oh, well, for me, I'm looking through my eyes. I think it's awesome because I've seen a lot of change. When I was growing up and bringing my kids up in this community, we had to go shopping in Nashville for everything. We had to go to Hickory Hollow. We had to go to 100 Oaks. I mean, we had to go to Harding Mall. We never had any of the stores and things that we have now here in Franklin. And we had a Shoney's that we all went. Everybody went to Shoney's and ate from the buffet.
The trough, I guess we could call it almost.
Yes, we go, seriously, this is pitiful, but we go for breakfast. And then when we got through eating, when my boys got through, they'd be too sleepy. We'd be too sleepy to go shopping. We'd go for breakfast and then we'd go shopping. And everybody would be tired because we didn't ate too much. But those were the kind of things that we had. We had Shoney's and a few more other things, but I love the change. I mean, there's a lot of traffic. Everybody knows that, and that's nothing new. But you have to have the bad with the good. But I think the good overshadows the bad.
Well, you have been involved with keeping the African American history alive in our community for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And both through the African American Heritage Society, but in other ways. So do you think that has changed, the willingness to tell the full story or a fuller story in our community?
Yes, people are really, really supporting. They're engaging with us. I hear people wanting to learn more about the story. They're wanting to really give their support and be a part of it. It's just really dramatic how things are changing right now. And the financial support, the moral support, people are just really, really join in with us to help us preserve African American history and to keep the African American heritage in the forefront here in Franklin. So
Marianne,
that's wonderful.
You were involved with the Battle of Franklin Trust, which came together under your leadership. But telling one side of the story was what we did for a long time, wasn't it?
It was, and there was, I think what initiated the coming together of the two houses was just, it just, from my perspective, and Shannon Wazaleski was here at the time, and she and I just kind of looked at each other one day. She was the president of the Carter House Board. I was president at Carnton. And we said, why are we not working together? Hello? And so we started on a very long process, and there was some pushback for that. So it took a while to bring the two together. But what we found has happened is that the story now is so much more cohesive because the two pieces go together. I mean, Carnton and the Carter House go together. And so, and the story, the African American story changed through that as well because Alma knows, she did tours prior to, and she's been involved since, that African American story has become more cohesive as well. So I think we always knew that ultimately that we weren't telling the full story. I mean, we knew that, but you have to. You take it one step at a time. It's like eating an elephant sometimes, and you take it one step at a time.
Battle of Franklin Trust, the Heritage Foundation, other groups have come together to support and really open the eyes of our community to the African American legacy. And that started with seeing the preservation of the McLemore House when that started, that project. So talk about the McLemore House and how when it was built and the story of it, and tell us a little bit about that so that people will know when they drive by it on 11th Avenue what they're seeing.
Okay, the African American Heritage Society, which was formed in 1992 by a group of citizens, both black and white, who wanted to preserve and protect African American history. So there was an opportunity in about 2000, I guess, that Miss Thelma Battle went on a trip and went to a museum, and she saw a museum up there and said, we have to have a museum, we need a museum in Franklin. And then she found out that this house was going to be condemned. It was in really bad shape. It really did need to be condemned. And she talked to Mary Pierce, and her Mary, of course, when Thelma and Mary get together.
What a duo.
Oh, I know. And
but if you put the two of you with Thelma and Mary, then we're going to get a lot done in this community.
I know. So it was a true blessing. So Habitat for Humanity was looking for lots. I was on the Habitat board at that time, and they were looking for lots, and they bought the property. They were going to tear it down and build a house. And Mary and Thelma was able to get all of that reversed, and Habitat sold the property to the Heritage Foundation. Mary was the director there, so Mary and Rick Warwick were very, very engaged in supporting the African American Heritage Society.
And the house itself, it has a great story. You were telling me it was built in
1880 by Harvey McLemore. He was an enslaved person, and he became a free man. He actually bought the property from his previous owner, and 4 lots, I think, for $400, and he was able to subdivide, and the property right behind that was his lot as well, and Habitat bought that, and they built the house on that lot. And his great-great-great-granddaughter lives in that house. So she's right there.
Wow.
And then right across the street at Johnson School, a school that was built for all colored children, and I was a little girl that went there when Miss Mills was my teacher.
Mary Mills. There's
Miss Mills
another
was one
name.
of my teachers. Miss Mills, I have to call the names of the founders. Miss Mary Mills, Miss Thelma Battle, Bazelia Harris, Louise Patton, Rick, and Mary. They were the ones that actually was formed the organization, and Mrs. Patton and Miss Harris have deceased, but Mary, Miss Mills is still on the board, still active, still speaks. We
saw her last
had
night.
a meeting last night. She was part of it. So
Popped in on Zoom.
Yes.
Wow, Mary Mills Zooms.
Zooms.
That is pretty an amazing story. So many people remember growing up with her as their principal, whether at Johnson or at the Franklin Middle. Franklin Elementary. Wow, that's amazing. Miss Mills Zooms.
Yeah.
The house stayed in the McLemore family for generation and generations.
117 years. So it was, I tell you, to just go and touch that and just say this is, it's just amazing to me.
It's remarkable that you could go from being enslaved to all of a sudden you're not anymore. And what do you do? I mean, how do you navigate that? And what he was able to do was remarkable, because that was really the first African American neighborhood in Franklin. And I would just have to say that I've read through some of Miss Thelma's work on Hard Bargain, which is what the neighborhood is called, where McLemore House is, and on it, just even his descendants and their stories, and how one of them almost lost the house, and the who came in to help him save it. And so it's that story's remarkable in and of itself.
Right,
but then when you follow it all the way through, it continues to be.
So we're not sitting at the house partially because it's cold, but also because it's under restoration right now, and it's very exciting times to see that house being restored again. So how's that happening, and what's being done, Alma?
Oh wow! Well, it was built in 1880. It was first renovated in 2002, and then 22 years later, or 20 years later, almost. There was so many things going on. The roof was leaking badly, and the floors were buckling because the way the house is designed, the windows were flush with the porch. There was a porch put in that was concrete, and Harvey didn't have a concrete porch. So guess what? We are having a wooden porch put in, which is a period porch that Harvey would have had. So that's already there, y'all. And we, we get a chance to sit on the porch in the swing, and it's just such an awesome thing. We have porch talks there, and now the people that would come for the porch talks will be sitting on a wooden porch rather than a concrete. And we've got new windows that were, they had to raise those because water would go into the house, and the floors were buckling. So we're going to have new floors put in that are period floors as well. And they were donated by Franklin's Charge.
Wow, that's great.
They bought a house, and the house was torn down to save the property on Columbia Avenue. And they gave us the floors from that house. Is that not amazing?
That's fantastic. Everybody working together again.
Takes a village.
All of these. Franklin's Charge, the Bella Franklin's Trust, the Heritage Foundation. See, they bought the property for the McLemore House and deeded it to us for $1. I mean, that's where we started. So they have been supportive for a long time, and we've got some more things coming up in the future that you all are going to be so excited about.
Can't wait.
It's just so much going on in our community, that the unity. Marianne, tell them our theme for our black tie that we had this year.
We stand united.
And that's what we mean.
Now, when you talk about your black tie fair, that is Williamson County's, I think it's the largest formal event held, and you've been having that. Tell us when that is and how people. You better buy your ticket now if you want to. If you want to go next year.
We don't even know what we're going to do because we didn't honor people in the 6 categories that we normally do, and we were going to try to double up, but we don't know where where the people are going to be, because when you're honored, you want your families there, you want your friends there, your church members. So you honor one person, that's 2 or 3 tables right there. So if you double up, and then you have your sponsors, you have all the guests that have been supporting every year, we are just running. We don't have enough space anywhere in Franklin,
and then we don't know where we're going to be next February. So it was in February, and this year it was virtual, and it was just as successful as it has been in the past.
It's always the first weekend in February, and it does draw a huge crowd, and it helps support the McLemore House and the African American Heritage Society.
Right.
But we get to always be on the grounds of the McLemore House for a special thing that you two have worked on with others for a number of years, and that's Juneteenth. What does Juneteenth mean, and what do you do to celebrate it?
Okay, Juneteenth, we started celebrating about 2004, and when we found out the story of Juneteenth, and we still didn't really know a lot about it till I think the first Juneteenth, Mayor Miller was there, and he spoke, and he said he was from Texas, and he said this is a state holiday, and he told us a lot about Juneteenth, and we were just like blown away because we'd heard of it, but we didn't really feel it. Like, we knew it was something to celebrate for the freedom of African Americans, and we wanted to celebrate that, but then to know people that were from Texas that actually was there celebrating during their times in Texas when he lived there.
That's right. That's when the slaves in Texas found out about the Emancipation Proclamation. It was how many years later?
2.5.
2.5, something like that.
And the person that told that is General Gordon Granger, which is Fort Granger, which is recognized as, it was a fort that was built by slaves, and it was where they were, and he manned that, he was the general there. And so he was the one that was given the charge given the order to go to Texas to tell the slaves. They were in a remote area of Texas, and they did not know that they were free all those years, and they were still. So when they got the news, they were so excited and jubilant that they started just being excited. They were saying Juneteenth, Juneteenth, Juneteenth. So that's where the name came, because Juneteenth. So that's how it's tied to Franklin as far as Fort Granger. So we are going to be unveiling a marker.
Very exciting.
That was is sponsored by First Bank, and we got a grant from the Tennessee Historic Commission, and that's going to be unveiled Juneteenth Day as well. And we're going to be at Pinkerton Park because the McLemore House is being renovated. So, and we wouldn't have enough room anyway, and just to have it special there, and it's just going to be awesome.
Oh, that is great.
Awesome, I know.
So big plans for Juneteenth.
Yeah, we had a meeting about it last night, didn't we? Yeah, and that we want to. There's a lot going on Juneteenth this year, so we're doing the Juneteenth celebration at Pinkerton, unveiling this marker, and then there's also at 10 o'clock. So at 10 o'clock they unveil the statue on the square, which is the statue of
the U.S. colored troops.
Correct, and then we start at noon with a lot of the same kind of activities, and then unveil this marker. So we've got the statue at 10, and then the marker, after we start.
And we have, since it has become such a event in the country that people, after the past killing of George Floyd, people just really got riled up, and people said we have got to really do a lot of things, and that Juneteenth was so close to that time that people had a lot of people had Juneteenth events last year. Even though COVID was there, the numbers were high. But this year there are probably going to be more people, so there is going to be another Juneteenth event. Like after the unveiling of the statue, there will be a Juneteenth event downtown Franklin.
That's great.
So we're going to be supporting one another, we're encouraging people to come to Pinkerton Park and then to go to the square and support, and then come to the unveiling of the marker. So it'll be a lot going on that day. And there's how many people in Franklin? 240,000. And then we have guests that come from out of town. So there's enough people to go visit both of them to show your appreciation to freedom for all, for African Americans, not just the 4th of July. Because in 1776, my ancestors were not free. The enslaved were not free. So when we celebrate and we say we stand united, that means that I celebrate on the 4th and you celebrate on June 19th.
With you.
That's unity. That's togetherness. And that's what we want to promote, just like Martin Luther King did. He promoted nonviolence and peace and love for one another. And he always said, I prefer love because hate is too great a burden to bear. That's me too. I don't want to hate you. That's too much stress on me. I got enough. I got enough. We don't need that. Love is easy.
You'd be hard to hate.
You two are hard to hate, and you're quite a dynamic duo. We always ask you, people who are on the show, what advice would you give people who are moving to Franklin from the experience that you've learned in your life here?
Okay, I'll go first. I always treat people the way you want to be treated. When you come to Franklin, you came to Franklin, it was already a lot of people here, you came because you saw the quality of life, the schools, and how you would be living in a place that you would really, really love. So when you came, the door doesn't close behind you. We cannot close the gate or whatever. And then when you come, the people here are friendly and loving and caring. And then the things that you may have supported where you were maybe be good, but you can't just come and change everything in one day. And Franklin is open to changes, but let's work together. Don't feel like you can come and say, well, I was there and I don't like what's going on in Franklin, and you just moved here and you looked on the internet and you spent a whole year trying to figure out where you want to move to, and you came, but now you're ready to change everything. So you came because you liked it. So like it the way it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also think that when you come here, I agree with what Alma said, and make it your home. And you came for a reason, and embrace the reason that you came. I agree with her about change. I think change is really hard for people sometimes, and I don't do change really well. And there are a lot of things I loved about how Franklin used to be, but there are probably even more things I love about the way that it is now. And listen, I loved it enough to want to live here. I can't expect other people aren't going to. But the thing I would say also is, while you don't want to come in and and change everything, it is important to get involved in your community, and it's
Yes.
important to give back to the community that you love so much. So figure out first what's going on, get involved, and then take a leadership role, because I think we all owe something back to the community that gives us so much.
I love that. I agree wholeheartedly. And on behalf of the African American Heritage Society, we would love to have people volunteer. If you're new in the area and you're looking for a place to place your heart for service, we would love to have you in our hearts.
How
for
can
service.
people get engaged? Can they email, or is there a website or
yes,
Facebook?
Yes, we
or?
have a website, McLemoreHouse.com. And if you look at that website, you'll have information about our email addresses, how you can volunteer, how you can get involved. We've got a lot of projects going on that we would definitely really love to have support and input and expertise, because when people are looking for things they want, and they're sincere when they want to serve, so those are the people we need. We don't, if I'm asking you to do something and you say, well, I'll think about it and blah blah blah, but when somebody comes to me and say, I want to get involved, that lets me know that they really do want to get involved. So we really welcome the support of our community.
We have events that they can see on the website. We've got, and listen, show up at Juneteenth. Because
Yes.
if you show up and even slightly say, I think I'd like to help you, then you end up, how many years have I been doing the cakewalk?
You end up for your lifetime.
I'll help you with the cakewalk, and that was 10 years ago or more. So be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. But listen, it's been so worth it.
Fulfilling, right?
Oh, yeah.
It will draw you in, and it will keep you in, because after I retired from Middle Tennessee Electric after 38 years, I retired, and I had gotten my real estate license like 10 years before that, and I was going to do real estate full time, and I did more real estate then when I was working than I do now. I don't even do it because I'm full time. I work as a service director, acting director. That's not a paid position or anything, but I volunteer that as directing, and I'm president of the organization. So there's no time for real estate, even though I keep my license active. My heart is to, as Marianne, as we're trying to keep the organization and get it to where it needs to be in the future, where we're not, it won't be us, but it'll be the organization, because it is the community's organization that needs to be sustainable forever and ever.
Yeah, and that's
our goal.
That's another thing. We're not going to be around forever.
Right.
So we need
exactly what we're
people
saying.
coming behind us who are younger than us, though we're pretty spry, but younger than us, who want to get involved, because it does need to be sustainable. It's not about Alma, and it's not about me. It's about the whole picture of the McLemore House and African American history, and just history of our community. And honestly, if history is not your thing, there's a lot of nonprofits in Franklin that would welcome somebody who wanted to volunteer. So we would love to have them, and if history is your thing, this is a good way to get involved.
Yes, we need young folks.
Preservation.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, preservation is so important, because we lose that if we snooze. And as my husband always says, it's one house at a time, or one building at a time, and that's true. So if somebody hadn't stepped up for the McLemore House, we wouldn't have that story.
Right.
We would not. We would, and it's an integral part of Williamson County's history, the story of our African American culture.
Yes.
And so excited to talk to y'all today, and thank you so much.
Can I give a shout out to the people who donated for the major donations we had?
Yes, please.
The grants, we got the grants from the Tennessee Historic Commission, and then we got donations from Barlow Builders, from Mike Ford Homes, and Chuck and Joe Ellen McDowell, the McDowell family. So we really, really want to give a shout out to all of them. Am I leaving anybody out?
I don't think so, but I wasn't as involved in that as you were.
And
but
the city's been very supportive and
Oh.
helpful in your work too,
Oh,
right?
the city has been awesome.
Always.
We won't ever end this because we have so much that
Yeah.
we have so many people that think we could be here all day. The city was phenomenal in the virtual Juneteenth. They worked so hard in brand metal, Matt Brown. If you don't have a branding person, go see Matt. And I don't know if you're supposed to do this on
That's
your
okay.
show, but he is amazing.
We love
Brand
him.
metal, Matt Brown. He was phenomenal.
he was.
Phenomenal. And he spent all of that time with us, and the city was really, really great, and they have been supported. And we're just grateful to so many people. We could just call names all day. They're
Yeah.
all mine. And go online or go to the City of Franklin YouTube channel, and you can see the video. You can see the virtual black tie, and you can see the sponsors, and you can see who the Pioneer family was this year, and you can get updated on some things.
And we'll add a link to that so that so that people can see it and watch that after they've watched this. Thank you this
Okay.
morning, ladies.
Thank
you so
you.
much. So thanks for joining us for this Front Porch Conversations. We've got some things that you need to know now, and that includes our Civic Index is coming up in April. You can find more information on our website, franklintomorrow.org. Be sure and join us for Frank Talks on April 12th, and we'll be discussing the Civic Index. And we have as our special guest Doug Linkhart, who's the president of the National Civic League, will be joining us for that virtual conversation. The Refuge Center has its Hope Grows 2021 on April 20th. Also, our next Breakfast with the Mayors, presented by Pinnacle Financial Partners, is April 27th. And then Find Hope Franklin, look for it on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. From our front porch to yours, this is Front Porch Conversations, and I'm Mindy Tate.